Alrighty, we're recording and we're live on Social Leverage. I almost forgot the name. Social Leverage episode 5 on Twitter marketing. And we're going to talk about Twitter. And Rob here was just explaining how he has about 5 Twitter accounts that he pretty much never uses.
Although, you know, since 2009, since I signed up for Twitter, I have tweeted 12,000 times according to Twitter. You know, so I guess I'm
all
on
the
it.
accounts?
No, just on the main one, which is, you know, at Rob Anspach, which is, you know, on my right above here on Blab.
You must have used it like a lot more when it was brand new or something.
I used to use a scheduling program, and I would funnel all, you know, everything I wanted to do, and I would tweet out probably 12 times a day on Twitter, and it would just go fanatical.
Mm-hmm.
And then the program ceased to exist, and I just thought, you know what? I wasn't getting engagement.
Yeah.
And when I stopped using the program and just started being natural with my tweets, I actually got better engagement and better conversation.
Yeah. That's the key to Twitter. If you get too markety sounding, people can see like right through that.
Yeah, and that's it. You know, we just revealed the whole secret of Twitter right off the bat. So I guess we can end the show now, right?
No. Nah. There's still more to say.
15 more minutes.
Twitter is one of these platforms that it seems like people either love and adore and it's their go-to place, or they completely dislike it. They're unconnected from it. They don't care about it. They don't want to try and care about it, and it's confusing. So I think Rob is not in the I love it category.
I love Twitter as much as you love Snapchat.
And we both know that my Snapchat relationship is not. So, the thing about Twitter, if you're using it for your business right now and you're frustrated with it and confused and you're just like, oh my gosh, is this worth the time, you guys? You know, I have 300 followers or 50 followers or whatever it is, or 1,000 followers, and I'm getting no traction with it, then there's obviously, as with any social account, it's either the way you're using it or it's not a good fit for you. And I would say before you completely vanish from Twitter, experiment with really seeing if you're using it as your authentic voice, or if you're just sort of plugging a bunch of stuff in there from a scheduler and just letting it run on autopilot. Because a lot of these social sites don't work very well if you just solely let it run on autopilot.
You know, but there's the crutch, I think, is that there's so many social networks, you know, that if we don't put some things on autopilot and let them run, we don't have a life outside of social.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, how can we put things on autopilot and also have a voice?
Yeah, so the way I do that is I put a lot of promotional type content on scheduling, and then any other time I like personally go on and tweet. So it's a balance of the two, because especially if Twitter is not your main social media platform, you should not by all means like just focus a ton of time on it. You should automate a lot, like your blog posts, your not your images. I wouldn't autopilot your images, but I would definitely put your blog posts, promotions, things that are relatively evergreen on autopilot, and then come in and organically share other content like images, what you're doing now, thoughts you have. So a lot like Facebook, a lot like Instagram, like you're not always scheduling everything. And we talked about this in one of our other time management episodes, where when you start acting like a robot, people don't relate to that at all. And so just don't do that.
No robots, huh?
None.
You know, one of the things I think that frustrates me is the conversation itself. Sometimes following that conversation, you know, it's not set up like Facebook. It's not set up like LinkedIn, where you post something and then you can see below, you know, what people are responding to. You know, they'll come back and say, "Hey, it's this," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, what it's in reference to?" Because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's I feel like it's the social media platform that's sort of on ADHD, where it's constantly being updated. So if you're really quick and you can read quickly and catch up quickly, go to the person's profile, check out, see if what they're saying is in a stream of other tweets, it's pretty easy to pick up on. But you have to, the mindset of Twitter is you have to be very fast paced. You have to really enjoy that sort of vibe, and or you'll miss things. And I think that frustrates a lot of people. The timeline of a post on Twitter, I think I read recently, is like maybe like 10 minutes max. And I will link it in the article to this recording where I saw that stat and all that stuff, but I think it's about like 10 minutes max. And so if you're not like right there and you don't see it, then it's gone unless you go to whoever's profile. And so that definitely frustrates people. But at the same time, Twitter is not necessarily the place you go to find old friends. That's more Facebook. And so Facebook is like, you know, the people that you're online with to connect with on a more personal level. And Twitter is a really good research platform. If you don't use it for anything else, it's great to search like what's trending, hashtags, pop culture trends, political trends, business trends, chat trends. And you can really see what people are actually talking about. A lot of times, because the trending sections of social media, depending on what industry you're in, is a great way to collect data on what people are talking about so that you can be relevant.
Well, let's talk about trending, because, you know, hashtags kind of came from Twitter, and the whole trending topics came from Twitter, and then Facebook followed with trending topics. But now Facebook is kind of getting out of sharing the whole hashtag thing. You know, I read, I guess it was the other day, where Facebook is not putting hardly any credence on hashtags like they used to, or even like Twitter does. So if someone's sharing their post from Facebook to Twitter and they're using hashtags, they're going to probably get more engagement on Twitter than they will on Facebook.
Absolutely. And the thing with Facebook is the hashtag is picked up more if you're using a hashtag related to a trending topic of that day. So say, let me go on Facebook right now and see if there's a appropriate trending topic right now. Oops. Let me see. So, okay, here we go. So Shaq O'Neal has a video and something, it went viral and it's under trending right now. And so if you were to talk about him in a Facebook post and it's public or via your page or personal profile, then anybody looking his name up will have the opportunity on Facebook to see your post about him. And you can use a hashtag with his name. You could use like NBA as a hashtag, but it's more directly related to the trending topic itself as opposed to using it to trend a topic. A lot of the things about the Facebook trending are more pop culture, celebrity, that type of thing. And on Twitter, the trending topic is more, what are people really talking about? So you could almost say that Facebook's version of trending topics is a little more media centric, whereas Twitter's is more, what are the Twitter people talking about? Like right now, something that's trending, something that a lot of people are tweeting about is, I just saw it, hashtag your honest Twitter bio. So you would put a one line about, if you were to have an honest Twitter bio, what would that be? And then you would use the hashtag honest Twitter bio. And if you click on it, then you'll see everybody else tweeting about that. Another trending topic on the marketing side is Adweek Chat. So if you were to use the hashtag on Twitter, Adweek Chat, then you would reach people who are currently talking about that. And the cool thing about Twitter trending hashtags is they rotate really quickly. Whereas on Facebook, a lot of times it's like the same stuff every day, the same type of topics. It's either tabloid, politics, business, technology, but it's never really user generated. It's more media generated, which is why I like Twitter's trending a little bit more.
Yeah, so you know, wow. Getting back up, feeding. Something's not right. I think I had my cell phone too close and it just created feedback. I lost my train of thought, and you were talking about
Twitter trending.
Right. So, you know, a lot of the things like news, you know, recently with the alligator and Disney and everything else, you know, Twitter just exploded with people, you know, talking about this alligator or talking about, you know, Disney's, you know, what they were going to do. And, you know, so now you're taking, you know, different subjects, condensing them into a tweet, whether you're using a hashtag or an @ sign or you know, even a link, and you're getting the word out and people are engaging in that conversation. So,
yeah. You know. Twitter is like a beehive, and people are just constantly coming in, checking out, joining, dropping in conversations, leaving conversations. It's a buzz. Whereas Facebook is like a watering hole where the animals kind of linger for a while, they mingle, they hang out, they're there for a bit, and then when they leave, they saunter off. So definitely different vibes, and that's an important thing to note. And another big thing that confuses a lot of people on Twitter is when you use a hashtag, do you make a personal hashtag for your company? Do you use a trending hashtag? Can you own a hashtag? You know, things like that. So I figure it would be a good idea to clear the hashtag myth up, even though I think it'll be a long-standing debate forever. So hashtags originated on Twitter. We know that. The purpose of it is think of it as Twitter grouping conversations. So anybody talking about hashtag coffee will be grouped under that hashtag. And it's a way to reach people who are interested in that topic, and it's a way to connect with people who tweet about that same thing. And so using them is more about reaching people who are either industry influencers who talk about that stuff that you want to reach, or potential blog readers, business relationships that you want. And so I always recommend, if you're just starting on Twitter or if you're just starting to create a focused strategy on Twitter, to use a lot of generic hashtags like health, hashtag fitness, hashtag business consulting, hashtag marketing 101, hashtag social media, hashtag health coach, whatever it is, whatever you do, use a lot of generic hashtags. And there are tools you can use for that. Let me look for one of the top tools. Hashtag search for Twitter. Yeah, so there's keyhole.com and hashtracking.com. I'll link them in the article after this. But they really help you see how you can get the most reach on Twitter, and that's why you want to initially use a hashtag. Now,
and I use Tag Board to also track the hashtags. Yeah. And, you know, that's great and all, but I think some people put way too many hashtags still in their tweets, and as they do on Instagram and Facebook. Well,
Instagram is, you're supposed to, like, the entire point of Instagram is using a lot of hashtags. So on Instagram, it's acceptable. On Twitter, it's called hashtag stuffing, and it's not cool. So if you're going to send a tweet out with a link to your blog post and you put hashtag business, hashtag small biz, hashtag business owner, hashtag marketing, hashtag consulting, that's annoying. On Instagram, it's totally fine. You can put up to 30 and you'll get amazing leverage from that, and people expect it. So part of the Instagram culture is about using hashtags to gain leverage and reach. But on Twitter, it's like, I'd say 3 max. So, and it also depends, like, are you publishing a quote? Are you publishing a blog post? Are you trying to be funny and use a hashtag to make a point? Like somebody could be tweeting something. Let me see if there's a good example of that. Like sometimes people just use hashtags to make a point. Like if I were to tweet, hey, some people use 10 hashtags in one tweet and that's obnoxious. Hashtag just saying. And in that case, it's not really used for reach. It's used to sort of emphasize your point while bringing a little bit of humor into the mix. So it's a fine line on Twitter about how to apply a hashtag, and that's why it's so confusing, I believe, for a lot of people. But it's really just, at the end of the day, it's about reach and how you're gonna get in touch with people.
So how do we, I mean, between all the different social networks, is there certain posts that we don't want to post on Twitter versus, you know, something else? Because, you know, it just seems like Facebook still is the wild, wild west of posting, and Instagram has their own rules, and Twitter has their own rules. LinkedIn has, you know, is more for business. So what can we get away with on Twitter?
Almost anything. The biggest key, and I hate to sound like that person giving advice that everyone gives, but it's really the biggest key, is being authentic. And I know that that's just like, really, did you actually just say that? Like, that's not helpful. But the thing about Twitter is people can see when you're trying too hard to be relevant, when you're trying too hard to be that funny person, when you're just being a robot and just all you do is post links. You can get away, something you can get away with on Twitter a lot more than any other program, social platform, is posting your blog title and then the link to the title. Like, you don't have to be ridiculously creative. I mean, you can be, but you don't have to be. So you can really get away. So like if I wrote, you know, 10 rules for using Instagram properly, that could literally be my tweet and then just a link to an article. So that's okay. Generally, I wouldn't do that on Facebook. I wouldn't really do that on Instagram or any other platform, but on Twitter, it's fine. Another thing that there's not many things you can't get away with besides just being corny and fake and rude. People will call you out on being rude, even though there's rude people everywhere. But on Twitter especially, they'll just be like, hey, you know, don't do that. Don't be rude. And that's just a general rule of thumb for all platforms. But I mean, they're incorporating so much these days. Photos, videos, live streams. So it's not really anything set in stone.
I've gotten more response from corporations using Twitter than I have from Facebook. You know, and even some of these corporations, the airlines have support talk or support chat through Twitter. Yeah. And they monitor, you know, their channels so intensively that, you know, as soon as you say something negative, they're on it. They want to know why you're dissatisfied. Yeah. And that's really good. That's another way to use it as a business owner. If you are listening to conversations in your industry, whether you're a social media marketer, whether you're a consultant, a coach, a service provider, a SaaS developer, whatever you do, really monitor what people say, because on Twitter, people also like to use it to share their thoughts and opinions about service. And that's also kind of a place to go like, hey, I just went to this restaurant and had the worst experience with the waiter or the staff or whoever it may be. And then if that restaurant were had someone monitoring, and they'd be like, oh my gosh, we're so sorry you had this experience, you know, please come back, you get a meal on us, whatever, then that's cleared up instantly, publicly, for everyone to see, for everyone to witness. And it just shows people that it's okay to sometimes have a bad day as a business owner, and B, that you're being responsible and
able to empathize with your customer or client, even if they're being obnoxious or, whatever it is, or ridiculously over the top rude. It just gives you a level of understanding. So using it as a customer service supplemental platform is a good thing. And I will tweet companies when I'm having an issue and be like, hey guys, I emailed support, haven't heard back yet, what's up? And I'll typically get a reply instantly, and they'll look into my case, and boom, problem solved.
Yeah, I guess it was 2 years ago, I was touring Southwest Airlines, and they have a command center set up just to monitor, everybody's, whether it's a complaint, whether it's a praise, whether it's, help, whether it's on Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. And, they're searching for different keywords. So not only, if it's Southwest or if it's, they look at other airlines, they look at, what people are saying about the food on airlines, what the luggage they're drinking, everything. And, their programs are just seeking out keywords, and they're responding, and to have a command center like that is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Not that, most of the people that are following us have the resources to set up a command center, but there are tricks and programs that you can use to monitor certain things just on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think one very underutilized aspect of Twitter is Twitter lists. And right now, you can't set a Twitter list up as a default for your home screen. You just have that big timeline of all the flood of tweets that you're following, but you can set up lists for people. So I use that to group different people who follow me. So some people I follow in the tech space, some people I follow in the art space, and sometimes I would just want to be able to only see tweets from people. So what it does is it takes, you create a list and you add specific people you follow to that list. And so you see their tweets all grouped in that section, and it allows you to basically filter out everything else and only focus on those people in that list. So for me, I have a list of people, clients. And so I can see their tweets and their accounts, and from my own, I can then go and retweet those tweets just to support them, help them. I have a list for artists, and it's artists that I really admire, authors, painters, photographers, and I can scroll through that list quickly and be like, okay, I'm going to retweet these guys because, I really admire their work and I want to support them. I have a list of marketing influencers, and I have them grouped in a list, and I can be like, okay, these are the favorite resources where I learn marketing, and so I'm just going to quickly, go down and retweet them. Does it take time up front to set up? Yes, a little bit of time. Everything takes a little bit of time to set up, but it makes your life so much easier because you can just laser in. And for me, I don't have like thousands of people in one list. I have like 20 people max in a specific list, and that just narrows it all down so that I can focus, because you can't, of everybody you follow on Twitter, you can't always be there to retweet them. You have a life, you have a business to run, you have a family, you have things to do, and a real world to get involved in. So the lists just allow you to narrow your focus.
I've been added to a lot of people's lists, whether it be social media, whether it be SEO, whether it be, whatever I'm talking about at the time, writing books or whatnot. But I've never really created, lists, because, that's just one more thing I have to follow.
Yeah, so, you don't really have to follow it, once you create it, the thing about the list, and yeah, there's that, and sometimes it's like I don't need a list until I'm following X amount of people, because it doesn't make sense to have a list if I'm following a small amount of people. But if you follow a lot of people, but you really want to focus on building relationships with a specific audience, then that's where lists are helpful. So I like to keep a pulse on the tech and art community. Those are two really nerdy, cool communities that I like. And there are people on Twitter who I want to hear from in those communities. And so it's like, I want to keep this conversation going without needing to remember, like, oh, what's that person's handle? I should go retweet their stuff now and then. So for me, it just makes that quicker. Now, it would be helpful if Twitter had a feature where you could make your list a default. so I don't have to go and be flooded with everything.
So that's one disadvantage right now that you see of Twitter because you use it all the time. I think my disadvantage of using Twitter is to me it's chaos. There's no rhyme or reason.
Right.
Facebook is easier to follow for me, and but I do like the trends. I mean, right now I'm looking at Twitter on my desktop while I'm talking to you on my laptop, and some of the trends right now are Wednesday wisdom, Trump speech, Fair PA, Adweek chat, House Democrats, Expedia chat. And when you click on them, it gives you more information of who's tweeting what, why they're tweeting it. And sometimes that can be an advantage because now you can engage in the conversation that other people are having.
Yeah, definitely.
With I think Facebook trends, you see what Facebook wants you to see. And I think it's a little bit biased.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's based on pop culture and media as opposed to what are people actually talking about.
So what are the advantages of Twitter for, not corporations, but more, mom and pop, small business, entrepreneurs who, maybe have settled in on Facebook or they've tried Twitter in the past? What can they accomplish from using Twitter right now?
Yeah, so if you've tried it in the past, here's the thing. If you tried it in the past and it hasn't worked, I would say it might not be your number one focus in terms of trying to rebuild a following. If you're a local business owner, unless you know that a lot of your demographic are on Twitter, it might not be the best option. It might be, but it might not be. You really need to know your demographic. And again, all this stuff comes back to, do you know your demographic? Do you know your avatar? Do you know where they hang out? If you're an entrepreneur in the health space, the tech space, the business space, and I know that's a huge bubble, but it is good to be on Twitter because there's a lot of conversation in the tech industry. If you're trying to get in on Silicon Valley news, that you need to be on Twitter because even reaching influencers, a lot of influencers are solely on Twitter and you can get their attention. Like I was listening to a podcast. I'm always listening to podcasts, so I'm always referring podcasts. But I was listening to one and this guy was like, I'm shocked at how many people don't reach out to me on Twitter because I'm on there all the time and I reply. And so if you want to reach high level people too, or influencers in like the tech industry, definitely reach out on Twitter. Like if you're trying to get an investment, if you're trying to get in on an app, if you're trying to, whoever you're trying to reach, definitely use Twitter. It's a place where it's easier to form a conversation because that's what people are open for. On Facebook, it's a little bit harder unless you're in a group because people aren't really wanting to friend you unless they know a bit about you or unless they've met you or have some sort of connection with you. And so there's that block right offhand, whereas Twitter, unless you make your account private, which most people don't do, but it's public for everybody. And it just takes away that barrier of communication of this is really awkward. I'm messaging you and I don't know you. So, but you want to reach somebody, hey, at Rob, what's up? What's going on? I'd love to learn more about you. And that's the power of Twitter.
The reply messages, I remember when I first started, in 2009, 2010, you could set up a reply. In fact, you could automate your reply.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that, everybody would just start spamming everybody with the reply, hey, thanks for being a fan. Thanks for being a friend. It was buy my product.
Right.
And as soon as I got that, it was like, nope.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I don't mind the automated messages that are like, thanks so much for following me. Can't wait to read your tweet. I don't mind if that's automated. That's relatively personal. I can imagine somebody actually typing that out to somebody. I've typed that out to somebody before on Twitter. But when somebody follows you and the immediate thing you're hit with is buy my new ebook or subscribe to my newsletter, that's just sort of like, well, I don't know you.
Hmm.
How do I know you would offer value instead of just hog space in my email? Why should I buy your ebook? I don't know who you are. And so that's a little off-putting. So again, the key of Twitter is being present on the platform. I think that a lot of people are so zeroed in and focused on how can I automate this? How can I automate this? That they forget that you need to develop a relationship, and that takes time. It doesn't happen just because, oh, you tweeted this awesome tweet. I mean, it's almost like your posting is one side of Twitter. So you post your blogs, you post your videos, you post what you're doing, what you're about, but then also engage with other people. And that's one thing I do like that Gary Vaynerchuk talks about. And he says, Twitter, don't constantly be talking on Twitter. Be engaging on Twitter. Reach out to people you are interested in, companies you're interested in, customers, help them solve problems on Twitter.
Yes. And I think that's, the key to a lot of different social networks, but Twitter mostly because of the way it's set up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never used Moments, but what are they for?
Yeah, so moments are really more just Twitter's way of sharing news. So the trending topics are, that's for more what people chatting about. The moment section is like their version of Facebook trending news. So they're just adding a section for, do you want to keep up on pop culture, on sports, on entertainment, on funny things? And that's just sort of like their news feed.
So how should a Twitter page be set up? Because, I know I've changed mine over the years, probably a dozen times. And every time I change it, I might get, hey, that's a great picture, or that's awesome. Tell me more about you. But then there's others who have never added a banner, have never added a picture. They still have that egg-shaped profile, and yet they got thousands of fans, and I don't understand it.
So a lot of those accounts are typically they've paid for follows, and I never recommend that unless you're doing an ad on Twitter targeting a specific type of person. But if you're going to some site that's like, pay $5 and get 5,000 followers, that's junk. Do not do it. Twitter will shut you down eventually. They're trying to get a hold on all that, so just don't do that. Set up an ad, set up a targeted ad, target people who you would really want buying or booking calls with you, whatever it is. Have a profile photo, and if you're tweeting as yourself personally, have your face. If you're tweeting as a business owner, have your business logo. There's a lot of leeway. Twitter's a very casual platform. It's not uber professional, so unless you're a very, very professional, buttoned up person and that's how you're comfortable presenting yourself, you don't have to have like a super professional image. You can have a selfie. That's cool. And you can change that selfie however many times you want. It's all good. But have your presence, and people know, okay, this is a real person, this is no robot. Have a header image. Mine changes now and then, every couple months, depending. Sometimes it's a cover of my favorite fiction book. Sometimes it's a random quote that I think is cool. Sometimes I take my Vital Media Marketing logo and stick it up there again. So it just kind of depends on my mood. When I log in and I'm like, do I really want that cover image? No. So you also have a lot of leeway for branding in your header. So if you're using it so if I'm using Twitter as @DevaniAnjali, then I have my profile photo, and then I use my cover image to sort of talk about, okay, this is my company, Vital Media Marketing, or this is a quote I believe in, or this is a book I like, whatever it is. So that is the design side. And in your bio, just be authentic. There's a lot of people trying so hard to have a funny bio or something really clever or something wise. Just be yourself. I mean, it's fine. Like, for the longest time, I just said business owner, social marketer, writer, photographer, and that was it. And then a link to my website. And I mix it up now and then. Just be you, experiment. I have an article that I can link with examples of good Twitter bios, but it's really just about being who you are at the end of the day and engaging with other people.
Let's go back to the buying fans and friends, and I know that Facebook was attempting to shut people down for that.
Yes.
But yet I still know people who have, hundreds of thousands of fake friends and nobody does anything about it. So I'm hoping that Twitter goes through and shuts people down.
Yeah, they did a huge wave of I think it was 3 million accounts they shut down or something like that.
Wow.
Which is a ridiculous amount of spam. And Facebook does the same thing. I mean, if you think of the sheer volume of people on social platforms, I mean, you can't get them all. And people slide through the cracks. I mean, there's over 1 billion people on Facebook. That's a lot to keep up with and a lot of data to scroll through. So you're always going to see it. And I do my job and report what I see. I mean, if I see somebody who's clearly spamming, then I'll just, it takes 2 seconds to report that person. I don't do it all the time, but if I can, I do.
Now, is it important to link some outside apps to Twitter?
It's not crucial. If you're just starting, I would just say get the hang of the Twitter app before you link apps. My favorite link account for Twitter is I link my Instagram to my Twitter so that every time an Instagram goes out, it goes out as a native photo on Twitter instead of, because if you do it straight from the Instagram app, it's just like a link to Instagram and that looks boring and you want to captivate someone's attention. So I do that. And that's pretty much, I've had a few different scheduling apps linked before and, I'll unlink them. I recommend Buffer app if you're going to schedule for any of your evergreen content. I would use Buffer app. And when you create a scheduled flow in Twitter, what's really important is you share your own content, but you mix in some people that you really admire and enjoy their content, and to sort of help support and fill out the spaces. So it's not a constant stream of, oh my God, Devani just posted 35 articles from her website in one day, information over. Let's break it up, share other people's stuff. I like to share content from HubSpot sometimes, content that I read. I'll see a newsletter and I'll really enjoy the content. And then I'll just say, hey, I'm going to share this on Twitter.
We talk about frequency though on Facebook, maybe, 3 or 4 posts a day, but I've noticed that, sometimes there's no frequency on Twitter. And I have one friend that would, and I don't know how he does it. Maybe he sits at his computer all day and he has no life, but I've watched him go, a post every single minute for hours. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't even know if I have that much content in my head, but here he is. But as I start watching his content being spewed out, in 4 or 5 days, he's starting to repeat that stuff all over again. And, he's got thousands and thousands of followers, but I'm thinking to myself, don't people get upset if they keep reading the same stuff over and over?
Yes and no. The amount of people who are re-seeing stuff is low. I know Guy Kawasaki does that. He has a set of 12 to 30 tweets that are recycled numerous times. The key, if you're going to do that, to recycle posts is have your standard post, but always be cycling in new content at the same time so that even when something else repeats, you still have a stream of new content coming in. So say you were going to do, I was going to post, 10 tips about Twitter, 10 tips about Facebook, 10 tips about Instagram, and those were my 3 main articles for Twitter posting. But then next week I write an article on 10 tips on LinkedIn, and then I circulate that through. 10 tips on Snapchat, I circulate that through. So always be building on that circulation, but it's definitely okay to repeat your content. Just make sure that you have enough backlog and planned ahead of time that you it's not just constantly repeating yourself.
Well, I noticed also that a lot of the tweets, I'm losing my voice, are now being indexed on Google, where the first dozen years they weren't, which is for those that are constantly tweeting stuff, with Google indexing it, you're having a better time or a better chance of getting those links to show up in searches.
Yes, and funny that you mentioned that. I recently was searching. I use an app called Toggle for time tracking, and I was seeing if they had an affiliate program because I've been using it for about a month now or so, and I really wanted to create that as an article. And I wanted to see, do you have an affiliate program so that I can, get some money for recommending it because I love your app. Well, I searched, Toggle affiliate program, and the second link was a Twitter conversation from 2015 that another blogger was having with the app and asking them, hey, do you have an affiliate program? So definitely, if you want to be indexed, that's a good way too. What else?
Oh, kind of drew a blank there, huh?
Yeah.
I'm talking about everything.
Yeah, everything Twitter. I'm trying to think if I'm forgetting any crucial thing.
Well, I noticed LinkedIn, when you share articles on LinkedIn, you have the option now of sharing them also with Twitter.
Yes.
Is that good or bad?
I think it's good. I think it's fine. It's acceptable to share all your content from other platforms. You just need to make sure that you actually show up to the platform and make your presence known real time on the platform. But yeah, I think it's fine for sure.
So
again, the rules on Twitter are relatively lenient, unlike all the other sites. And here's part of the reason. If you think about it, 24 tweets a day is just 2 tweets an hour. If you were to say from morning to evening, not your full 24-hour cycle, but 12 hours, 24 tweets is 2 an hour. That's not enough. To be honest, I mean, it's a good start, but it's not enough for Twitter. The speed at which it moves, it's not enough. So you got
the average person that's not you, or some of these other people may get tired of being near their computer all day long to do that, to be real, to engage.
Absolutely.
So what do you suggest to them if the posting frequency is at least 2 posts an hour for 12 hours? That's 12 hours for them to sit near the computer. Don't they, if they're posting to LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook, can't those be filtered out to Twitter, and then maybe they just jump in, every now and then and just, hey, I'm here. Oh, how can I help you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what I do with my clients, what I recommend to everybody is, if you're new to Twitter or you're revamping your strategy, be more frequent and link your LinkedIn account, link your Facebook account, link your Instagram account, Pinterest if you want, if you're on Pinterest, whatever your main accounts are, link it to your Twitter so that when you post there, it also goes to Twitter. And just frequent the site and notice your traffic patterns over, I'd say a 2 to 3 week period. Notice when are people really engaging with you the most? And once you figure that out, focus your time during those zones. I have one client where his Twitter is mainly active in the evenings. And so that's when we are online the most, is evening, between 5 and 7 p.m. East Coast time. I do everything East Coast time, so FYI. If it's a morning, there's a lot of fitness accounts, a lot of people into the health wellness industry, they're early risers. First thing they do in the morning, boom, check Twitter, check Instagram, whatever it is. So, morning might be the time, midday might be a good time. I between 1 to 2 p.m., it seems like a nice dip in the afternoon where people might just be tired of staring at a screen of work. And so they might just be looking down, checking their screen. So really hone in on when are people responding to you and keep a note of that on a spreadsheet. And after about 2 to 3 weeks of just solid looking through, seeing that, filter your times based on when you notice the traffic patterns. And then that allows you to be sort of choosy so that you don't have to be there all day.
Well, let's talk about analytics on Twitter, because, with most people, an analytics come with the Facebook page. So how do they read their analytics on Twitter?
They've just launched that recently, a few months ago. They're very, very basic. They basically just tell you how many times your tweet has been seen, and it will tell you the engagement level. So I'm trying to see, I'm pulling up my account right now to sort of go over that. Yeah, so
I don't even show it on, I don't even see it on mine.
Yeah, they're tweaking that, and so I don't it's not consistent right now. But if you go under your profile image on the upper right side of your screen, next to the box that says tweet, and it has the settings and all that, you can see analytics. You can click on that. It's also analytics.twitter.com/user/username.
Okay, it says here for me, and this is an example for everybody who's out there. My 28-day summary says that I had 113 tweets. Okay, that's news to me because most of the stuff is shared through Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram. I had 13,000 impressions, which is up 25% since last time, or last 28-day summary. But my profile visits are down, 2%. I've been mentioned 34 times, probably from Devani, so thank you for that. And my followers are up 38 people in that time frame. So I think it's very important to look at those analytics just to see what you're doing. Maybe you need to tweak some things. Maybe you need to adjust, who you're going after, what you're, for me, I need to be a little bit more real, be more present on Twitter versus how I've been doing things.
Yeah. And another thing of note is if you try this platform for a solid, 2 weeks, 1 week, whatever it is, and you're just like, this is not for me. Like, this isn't for me. That's fine. Get off. Don't waste your time. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And that's okay. It's 100% okay. Focus your energy on where you enjoy spending time and then do that. So you don't have to be on Twitter. It's not like a written in stone rule. I'd say you have to be on Facebook for the most part, but you do not have to be on Twitter. It's definitely a unique platform. I'd say a lot of it is very indie art / tech type people. If you're in that industry, I'd definitely be on Twitter because if you just do a search of authors, you'll get hundreds of accounts. So if you write a book, then you should probably be on Twitter.
The food truck that a friend of mine owns, he doesn't do Facebook. He only does Twitter because he can drive around in his food truck and tweeting every his menu out where he's going to be.
Have you seen the movie about that?
Uh-huh.
There's a movie. Okay, it's an awesome movie. I wish I remembered the name. I don't remember the name, but it's this guy who, and it's a fiction story, but that reminded me. And he's a chef, and he works at like this really fancy restaurant. And he gets a really bad review of his food from like this top person, and his son sets him up on Twitter because this guy's gotten this really bad review, and then he's trending on Twitter. And so his son sets up a Twitter account. His son's like 10 years old, right? And so he sets his dad up on Twitter, and his dad starts tweeting, and he builds up this enormous following. But then they create a food truck business. He ends up getting fired from his job, and so they create a food truck business, and they go all around this country, around the country, creating like these amazing like sandwiches or whatever. And so his son is just constantly tweeting from like their food truck account, and hundreds of people show up all the time. So obviously that's like Hollywood and a little bit fancied up for a fun story, but it's just I would recommend watching that movie. It's really entertaining. It's family entertainment too, so if you have kids, they would like it. It's all friendly, but it's a really good lesson in just putting yourself out there, and you never know what happens.
And I think it's a faster way to get yourself out there versus Facebook. You have, I think, you can build up a following much quicker on Twitter than you can on Facebook.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, I see that, a few people joined in over the course of the call. If anybody has any questions, if you jumped in late and, maybe you didn't hear the question that you were dying to ask, just type it somewhere down here, over there. You'll find a space, type it, and hopefully we see it and we can answer it.
Yep.
And if you don't have a question, well, then you're just going to have to watch the replay, and and I hope we don't traumatize you again.
Yeah, it's been fun.
But Twitter is not something that I personally attached myself to. When I signed up in 2009, I thought, okay, it's just another social network. But my social networks when I started were LinkedIn first, then Facebook, then Twitter,
No
and then
MySpace?
what's that?
No MySpace?
No MySpace. But I actually did what was called Plaxo before LinkedIn, and
Yeah,
Plaxo was just a waste of time. But um, Twitter, I kind of engaged with for a while, but then I lost interest. Then I came back, lost interest, kind of like you with Snapchat. But you know, with everything that an entrepreneur has to do, they have to find ways to simplify what they're doing.
absolutely.
So, and it's all about common sense. What platform is going to make the most sense for you? Is it going to be Twitter? Is it going to be Facebook? Is it going to be LinkedIn? Instagram, Pinterest? Those are the ones that you focus on first. And then once you master it, go back and master the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot to be said for focus and laser focus. Don't get so spread out that you're overwhelming yourself. If you only start on Twitter, just start on Twitter. If you only start on Facebook, just start there. If it's Instagram, whatever platform speaks to you, whatever platform your people are on, stick with it. Don't listen to everybody saying, you have to be here, you have to be there, you have to be everywhere, you'll be left behind. Because at the end of the day, you still have to live your life. You still have to go out and experience the world. You still have to, meet people. That's what helps us grow. That's what helps our business grow. And so don't spend your entire life online, even as a business owner, even if you're an online entrepreneur. Don't do that.
So we have, a minute, 2 minutes left. And, those who are watching, thank you. Those who left early because of doing other stuff, no, I can't say that. But, it's fun coming in here every week to share with you our knowledge, our frustrations, our opinions, how we do things, if we do it right, wrong, it doesn't matter. It's all helpful, or at least we try to be helpful. And I think that's the way that you use your social leverage to build your own authority.
Definitely. Yep. And that, folks, is a wrap.
Yay! Ticker tape.